Welcome back to From Nothing, Milos' story. As we head into Chapter 3, you and your ally for this mission, Stoik, the Goliath Paladin of Hond from Fidi, you and he walk down the streets heading toward the constabulary in the main street of Farum. Now, it is closer than the logging district that you visited before. However, there is still potential for a random encounter. So I'm going to roll to see if you get one. Okay, roll me a D100, please.
Oops, that's 2D100. That's not right.
That's quite a bit.
Let me try that again.
All right.
I must have double-clicked it. Okay, it's still quite a bit, but at least it's only one.
It is only one set of dice. Okay. As you two are walking down the street, you're on the main stretch of Farum, so it is a busy street. I'd like you to roll me a perception check, please.
Okay, perception check.
Yes. Okay. You don't see it.
I don't notice anything.
I'm going to roll for Stoic as well. Although he doesn't have a great score. He rolled a 4. Okay, well. His bonus of +1 means he rolled the same as you.
We're busy shooting the shit about Fidi, I guess, and
Yes.
not paying attention to what's happening around us.
I need you to make a dexterity saving throw.
Ooh.
Yes.
All right. Wow.
Okay.
That's 2 in a row.
Hold on. All right. Here is what happens. As you're walking down the street, you pass by one of the narrow alleyways that lead farther into the western side of Farum. You don't notice it because you're busy talking and you're enjoying yourself. You're relaxing a little bit.
Like talking and waving. Like there's a lot of hand talking going on.
Yeah.
And just like.
Stoic is an affable guy, and he's a charismatic individual, so he's easy to shoot the shit with. Mostly complaining about various foods that were delicacies in Fidi, but actually tasted awful. And as you guys are making your way down the street, the loud clattering of hoofbeats passes your notice. Suddenly, you are cast to the ground as you take 5 points of bludgeoning damage from a cart that is overturning as it's turning out of the alley.
Oh my God.
And the
I
clattering...
got hit by a bus.
You did. The clattering of wood as this cart slides and scrapes on the cobblestones.
Sorry, did you say 8 points of damage?
5.
5, okay.
5. I could give you 8, I guess. I
I
rolled a 5, so you take 5.
Okay, 5 points of damage.
You are thrown to the side and you are prone, as is Stoic. Both of you are completely blindsided by this, as you are completely distracted as you cross through this alleyway. And the sounds of people panicking as they're getting out of the way of a horse that has torn away from the cart and is running northward out of the city. There is groans and clattering as the individual who was driving the cart, a young, what looks like a halfling at a glance, woman, is slowly getting up and she's, "Oh, fuck me!" And she's like looking around. You're not coming through, so I assume your mic is muted. Or...
Is my mic muted?
No, I hear you now.
Okay.
I couldn't hear your
grunts
of pain.
I went, and then, fuck, basically.
The cart appeared to have been full of what looks like firewood, or it's shortly cut wood. And based on the direction this cart is coming from, that makes sense to you. That is where the logging is happening. But this halfling appears to be disgruntled, embarrassed, and very red in the face as she's trying to get up and get her cart back situated. Except it doesn't take a genius to see this cart that was loaded with firewood is sideways, and you don't think a halfling by themselves can right a
All
cart
right.
full of wood.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, are you all right? I oh
Mostly just my dignity, ma'am. Come here. Let's help see if we can get this cart right, right way up.
you see that she's like flustered and she's like stumbling to get wood back up into the cart, which is sideways, so it's just like rolling right back out onto the cobblestone. And Stoic stands next to you and he says, "Really, ma'am, let us help you. This will be much faster if we just do it the one time."
Yeah.
Okay, Stoic is going to aid you.
Okay.
You're going to try and right the cart.
That's my plan.
Okay, this is just a straight strength check. It's not athletics because it's an awkward thing to right.
All right.
But you have an advantage with Stoic's aid.
Advantage.
Stoic also is a Goliath, and so he's probably going to be taking the brunt of the weight, but your role is guiding how it happens.
Okay, that's a 14.
A 14.
Because my other roll was less.
Yes. Takes a minute. It takes a good 5 minutes of work to get the cart in a position where the wheels don't spin on the cobblestones that are very smooth, making it difficult to right this cart in one go. And finally, you plant your knee behind one of the wheels of the cart, and both you and Stoic heave, and you lift the cart with it, and the cart finally is on all four wheels once more. You see that where the horse was tethered, the yoke is broken. And this
Is
woman,
the horse anywhere?
he is gone,
Horse is
long
gone.
gone.
All right.
And the halfling woman is like standing next to the cart as you ride it, and she says, "I thank you very much. I don't know how I can repay you.
Do you know how this happened? Like, it looks like something smashed your yoke.
Something spooked the horse, and he just went right around the corner, and I couldn't get control of him again once the wood was broke."
Right. You don't need to. I mean, these things happen.
And he's kind of looking at Stoic like, what do I do?
Stoic just kind of looks down at you and shrugs as the
Yeah.
halfling woman says, "Please, I have to repay you somehow, especially since I did blast into both of you." And she is rooting around on her belt, and she holds out a hand, and she gives you 5 gold for your trouble.
This is so much for this. Are you sure this is?
Yes, you're gonna have to pay for healing, I'm sure.
Well, probably.
You're bleeding right now.
Yeah, I mean, I took like a lot of damage for how much health I have.
Yeah.
Milos just is guilty because he wasn't walking to where he was going and got run over by a bus, and he feels like
It's
there's
true.
some assumption of there's some like he did like some of this is the consequences of my own actions. But he's ma'am, thank you. I appreciate the I hope you have a. He kind of looks at the cart and he says, "I don't know how you're gonna get this moved, but
I will go to the stable and see if I can find myself another horse, first and foremost." And she looks at the cart. It's full of firewood, or short cut wood. You don't really know what it is, because you're not a logger.
no, I know stone
Yeah.
and ore. I don't know trees. They're all trees to me."
And then you see that the Ferrum Market certainly has stables.
Yeah.
And so you see that she kind of looks at the cart, and she takes one of the logs out and puts it down next to one of the wheels so it doesn't move. And then she heads in the direction of the nearest stable. And Stoic is like watching her leave, and he says, "Well, that was interesting."
Yeah. Can't say I've ever been run over by a wood cart before.
Nope, first for me as well. All right, back
Well-
to business.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure if I should try to find bandages or something before we get to the guards, so I don't look like a
He kind of looks down at himself, like a bleeding mess when we're representing the Merryguard.
He kind of looks at you and he says, "Right, maybe I can help with that." And let me see if he can help with that. He is a paladin, but he might be too early a level to... No, he has a little bit. He has 5 points of lay on hands,
Oh,
and
perfect.
he heals
how
you
much
for
I took.
5. Yeah.
Okay, I will heal back up.
For
Amazing.
flavor, he grasps the hilt of the longsword on his belt, and his other hand goes to the side of your torso where the cartwheel blasted into you, and you feel the bones re-knit, the flesh close, and he says, "The hand ever in your favor."
Oh, thank you. That is a fascinating and bizarre sensation. I thank you.
Pretty good, huh?
Very good.
I do my best. All right. Lead the way. So you're back to
Okay,
full.
yeah, just back to heading towards the constabulary.
Make a note to yourself, however, Stoic is out of lay on hands.
Yeah. Whoops.
Level 1! Level 1!
Level good. Yeah.
Alright. As you head to the constabulary, the constabulary is a sizable jailhouse and guard station. It is largely a cobblestone structure. It is handsomely made. It looks as though it is the sort of building that's been around for literally forever. And the only thing that really keeps it standing is the fact that when they first built it, it was built of stone. Seems to be one of the oldest structures in the town itself. You recognize a lot of the same architecture and handiwork as what built the Merryguard Academy. It's built in a similar fashion. Lots of archways and stone pillars and those sorts of things. As you head into the front door of the constabulary, you see there is a front desk where there is a guard in full armor but helmet off working. This one is a blonde human, who is nose down sorting through all sorts of what look like listings and bounties and sorts of things like that. And she looks up as you enter and she says, "Hello, can I help you?"
Good morning.
"Morning."
My name's Milos. This is Stoik. We're from the Merryguard. We're here to see Captain Holstrom.
Oh, you're here for the free agency. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me go get him. And she stands up. You see that she, before she leaves, she's leaning over and she scribbles one last notification on this parchment, and then she heads out of the room. Finally, after what feels like maybe a couple minutes, you just standing in this foyer as guards
looking around,
coming in and
casually
going, and
trying not to be too noticeable about looking at the upside down writing on the desk, not because I'm particularly interested, but because it's there.
I mean, if you want to glance at it,
Yeah.
roll perception.
I'm curious as a cat. Why they call me Whisper.
That's a
Holy shit.
natural 20 for a 24.
I am the top and the bottom of the dice today, with nothing in the middle.
There is a bounty that she was working on filling out. You see, it is the description of a gnome. The gnomish, a gnome man. It looks like he goes by the name of Torlin, known to be a reputed, you're trying to read that word, you realize it's not in a language you know. And then the next word says dealer. So by context clues, you're like, oh, some sort of illegal substance dealer, contraband dealer? Why is it in a different language? That's weird. And as you keep reading
That's
it...
like the extent of... Yeah.
Yeah. And then there is a reward below it that says 800 gold pieces.
Damn.
And then there is more notes that looks like she was in the middle of writing that are not complete.
Milos is imagining armed and dangerous. Something.
Stoic notices you looking and he says, "Anything interesting?"
Oh, they're putting out a bounty for some little guy.
They're all little guys.
Gnome little guy, so real little.
Oh.
800 gold, he must be scary.
Huh. You think that might be in our pay grade?
I just got run over by a cart.
That's true. We should not get too big for our britches, eh?
Yeah. But it's good to know that the constabulary hands out bounties that big.
To be fair, it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it sure did. Didn't even see him coming.
As
Stealth horse.
you're having, yeah, really, as you're having this conversation, the woman comes back, and she says, "Hallstrom will be right out. Just sit tight."
Thanks. Yeah.
And as she sits down, she like shifts the parchment back in front of her and continues writing. And as soon as your eyes like kind of glance down to see where you write, armed and dangerous, you hear heavy footsteps coming around the corner, and a rock genasi, an earth genasi man in full guard armor, it's heavy, full plate, what looks like it's seen countless battles. It is scratched and scarred and dull, almost. It's not rusty, it's clearly been tended to, but it looks like it could see a blacksmith to get a lot of those scratches and dents pounded out. Bald, this earth genasi, looks at you both, and you see that his rocky, craggy skin is hidden behind a very thick black beard as he's looking at the two of you, and he says,
"Right, so you're the two that the Merigard sent my way."
Yes, you're here about Tomwise Garay?
Right. Come on back.
and he gestures for you to follow as he turns right back around.
Milos kind of he like kind of cross palms behind his back to keep himself from accidentally hitting anything, and moseys in the wake of the rock genasi. He was a little surprised to see one. He feels like a weird frisson of recognition because of all the just like level of what rock, what earth, like.
Sure. Actually, roll me a history check real quick.
Okay.
You might notice something interesting. A 19. Yeah, you've seen lots of Earth Genasi on Fidi. They're all over the place. Mm-hmm. However, the stone that is their heritage, the elemental whatever earth effect that births or influences the Genasi where you're from, is not the same as Hallstrom. Hallstrom is influenced, it seems to be, almost of sandstone, whereas those of Fidi are rocky mountain earth, gray and dark
much
gray.
More igneous.
Yes. Different flavor, but still Earth Genasi. And as you follow him into his office, he gestures to the seats up opposite his desk, and as he sits down, he says,
"So first, what have you heard?"
Well, I heard that there was a murder, and that the principal witnesses are the children who have identified Tomwise Garay.
Aye.
Which sounds, begging your pardon, but it sounds like an awful situation for the children and for the father. Even should the accused be guilty, it's just terrible all around.
It is. I'm not going to argue with you on that. We have Corin and Evelyn Garay here at the state.
and a pebble goes flying across the room out of his mouth, and he wipes his mouth and says,
"Apologies. Corin and Evelyn Garay are here. You can choose to speak with them, or you could choose to speak with Tomwise first, who's below in the dungeon."
I think I'd like to speak with Tomwise first if I could. I think that the conversation with the children is going to be delicate, and I should be as prepared as I can be for their trauma.
Fair enough. I'll be having Guardsman Roworth escorting you around the premises.
And as he says that, Hallstrom stands up, and he leaves the room. It looks as though the body language is conveying to you he expects you to follow.
Milos kind of was about to say something to Stoic, then realizes he's supposed to follow, and then like goes, "Whoa," and then follows.
Stoic just kind of shrugs when you look at him, and he follows you out. And it takes a minute to get all the way through the guards' barracks, which is where you go. The barracks is what looks like just resting quarters for the guards when they're off shift, and they're due back in very soon. Foot lockers, cots. Doesn't smell great. Doesn't smell terrible, but it's clear people work and go here to change, get dressed, and deal with getting cleaned up, which means that this place smells sweaty. Finally, at the end of the barracks, there's a partition that the captain rounds, and you see he kind of nudges a cot with a foot. And he says,
Mail! You're up. Show these free agents to set to Tom Ways.
and you see what looks like a dwarf sits up, kind of shunting on into chainmail as he does, and he looks over at you both and he says, "Oh, hey, all right, follow me then." And the captain says,
I'll leave you two with him. Come find me when you have, reached a decision.
Yes, sir.
and Captain Hallstrom marches off, and you find yourself standing next to a dwarven guard who seems to be named Mael Roworth. And he looks at the two of you and he says, "Any of you have any experience talking to those likely to be condemned?"
No, sir.
And Stoic says, "Is a first for me as well." The dwarf kind of nods and says, "Huh. Weird. All right, follow me." And he picks up a ring of keys and he leads you down into the dungeon. Now, the dungeon is just as old as the rest of this building. It is not super pleasant as you descend the steps into this darkened room. Hold on a second here while I make sure you can actually see. Okay. And the thing you notice also, lots of roots and grass seem to creep through the cracks in the stone down into this structure. And you get the feeling this room is not used very often. Farum is not a huge town, and as such, it's not, well, it's not common that they have prisoners of caliber of a murderer that they are keeping. At least one not to this degree. And as you look into the dungeon, you see behind the bars, there is a man. Human of descent. He looks like this. You can mouse over him. He looks well-dressed. He looks as though he takes care of himself, or at least tries to. The clothes he is wearing are likely the same he was wearing when he was picked up. They are finery. Not quite a nobleman's clothes, but maybe those of an artisan.
Well-dressed. Yeah, somebody who's at least had some funds to.
Yeah, take care of himself with. And Mael stands by the bars and he says, "I'll be right here if you have any questions that, well, I was there when we grabbed him."
Can I ask, before I talk to him, can I ask... You all already interviewed him, right?
The Hallstrom did. I wasn't there for that questioning, but he was interrogated, as it were.
You know... Well, I guess you weren't there, but...
I might know. Don't be afraid to ask.
You know... Did he claim not to remember?
You see, Mael looks at, kind of winces a little, and he says, "No, but he did describe everything as out of his hands."
Interesting. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And he kind of stands back.
Milos sort of... He doesn't actually mean to sneak or anything, but he finds himself walking more quietly, like he's almost weighed down by what is coming here, and he kind of steps up to approach the condemned, or almost condemned.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, Hello, my name is Milos. I'm here to see if I can help.
The man, Tom Wise, in the cell, is laying back on a cot, and he kind of looks up at you, kind of leaning forward on the cot to see who you are, and then his head thumps back, and he says, "Oh, a Marigard free agent. Fantastic." You do not need to roll an insight check to read sarcasm in that.
That's what I was about to ask. I was like, that's sarcasm, isn't it? Okay.
Milos clears his throat and he says, Yes, I can see why you might not be that enthusiastic about free services.
Well, you get what you pay for.
Maybe.
He's not looking at you right now. He's laying on the cot.
Are there bars like between us? Okay, so Milos is gonna kind of reach up to the bar and kind of lean forward on both of the bars and like fold his arms and stretch. And he says, You've already told the guards pretty much everything, right?
I have.
And so I guess my first question to you, you bore witness to what was happening with your hands, but you weren't doing it. Is that right?
He sounds frustrated as he talks. And he says, "Yes, I could see what was happening, but I didn't do it."
Did you feel anything in your mind from the presence that was there? What did it feel like?
What do you mean? And he looks up at you. What are you talking about?
Someone was in your mind, something. Something had taken over your hands. You were doing something and you weren't in control.
I felt... He thuds back on the cot and he says, "Someone, or something, maybe. Whatever it is you're hinting at. Something. It's hard to describe. It's
Did
like
you
when
feel emotion
something's...
from it?
Well... fair. It's the feeling you get when you drop something and catch it right before it hits the ground. Or you touch a hot plate and recoil. That feeling. But it was everything.
Terrified of everything around you.
Well, mostly out of sorts, I guess.
When did you first feel out of control?
When my hands laid on the ox.
There was nothing before then?
No. Never.
What were you doing before you touched the axe?
Well, you see, he is kind of like his hands are gesticulating. Right now, I need you to roll a persuasion check, just for a general sense of how.
Mood of this conversation.
Yeah,
Oh shit, motherfucker!
that's not good.
I
Okay.
cannot. I can't. It's been 20s and 1s.
Yep.
All right.
He says, his arms kind of collapse down by his sides on the cot, and he says, "What good'll it do me? I already explained all this. They don't want to hear it. They don't believe it. It's a waste of time."
Sir, this isn't for you, it's for your children.
I was making dinner, as always.
All right.
Marini was having raw deer again, so I couldn't make that for my kin.
What? Did you know you were going to touch the axe?
Well, it's the only tool I had for easily cleaving venison apart. So, aye.
And as soon as you touched it, that's when something else took over.
It wasn't my actions that drove the axe through her neck. That wasn't my intention. That wasn't my motivation. It wasn't my thought.
What I'm trying to ascertain is if whatever took you over was in the axe or the deer.
I've used that axe every day for years. Well, only more recently for deer, but
And where did the kill come from?
I got it myself.
In the woods?
Mm-hmm.
How did
West-
you kill it?
Bow, west side of the island. I hunt every week just to. Well, I didn't used to. Marinie's been having strange appetites lately, or she had.
Was she with child?
No.
When did her behavior change?
He scratches at his chin and he says, "Hey, a month ago."
Can you tell me about that?
Roll persuasion. "21.
It's so much better.
Tomwise sits up on the cot, resting his elbows on his knees. He doesn't make eye contact with you, but at least it seems like you've got his attention. Perhaps this is a line of questioning that was not brought up. My wife had always had quite a head on her shoulders, and about a month ago she began performing unusual research, things that she never looked into before, and I've always tried to provide whatever it was she wanted. I'm just a carpenter.
Magical things?
Aye. She is born with talent. She'd always had a knack for... She'd always had a knack for artifacts and small spells, the sorts of things that make life a little bit easier. And then, a month ago, she began looking into more powerful things. Asking for more... She called them reagents. I just collected the bags down at the component store. She was always asking for more, and I was always trying to provide it until a couple of weeks ago she began getting scary, I guess. She'd eat venison raw, and lots of it. More and more of it every day. Hence the hunting. Used to be she could eat whatever, well, I can't believe I'm wording it like this. Every day she'd eat the same as the rest of us. She'd never had a problem with what I made before. And suddenly, 2 weeks ago, she couldn't stomach it. Only
She
raw.
wanted it raw.
Aye. I insisted she go see the physiker, but she insisted nothing was wrong with her. You see he's got his face in his hands.
Thank you for telling me this. It could make a difference. I know you don't feel that way right now. I'm going to see if the guards will let me take a look around your home before I speak to the others.
The man finally looks up with an eyebrow raised and he says, I won't hold my breath, but thanks, I guess. And he lays back down.
I wouldn't hold my breath either, but the thing is that a chance is better than none.
Milos sort of lets his hands down. It goes, and then sort of turns and looks up at Stoik and goes, "Did you have any questions for him?"
Stoic looks at the man on the cot and looks down at you and he says, it sounds like our friend here is in a bit of trouble that maybe you shouldn't be. As far as questions, I don't have any. Aside from what you've already asked, you covered all the bases well.
I want to make sure I didn't forget something or, I don't know, do something dumb. Okay. Guardsman, male? Row, what was it? I'm sorry.
Just male do.
Male? Would it be possible for my friend here and I to take a look at the house, the residence where this took place?
It wasn't really discussed, but I don't see why not.
I don't think I should need to take anything, but I'd like to just go and maybe take a few notes.
Let me come with you, and that should be fine.
All right.
Mail will begin heading up the stairs, and as he's walking, he said, Holstrom just said you'd want to talk to the kids, so...
I do, but I want to do this first.
All right.
If that's all right. I want to... It's going to be hard talking to the kids, so I want to do this first.
It's fine. I'm paid by the hour, so... and Mail will lead you out of the dungeon, out into the city. One moment, please. As you're heading out into Ferrum, you immediately head from the constabulary up toward the logging district, which you kind of expected from what you heard. Except it's much farther south than you thought it would be. You're heading toward the docks in the logging district until you get to it's not a hovel. It's a comfortable looking home. nestled amongst the other residences that look as though they're built more to be part of the business that they run. This house is different in that it doesn't have a business that it's built out of. It is just a house. Single story, but well made. You can see the hints at fine architecture of people who knew what they were doing when they built this house, and of the woods being well finished and stained. This house is built to last, and it was built by people who knew what they were doing. So you know, this is not a cheap place to live. It's not expensive, but it seems as though whatever it was Tom Wise did for money, he made enough of it to be comfortable. And as you approach the front door, Mail begins sifting through the ring of keys until finally he opens it up and he says, "What's your step?"
Right.
When you head into the Gray home, immediately you're in a foyer that leads directly toward a den where there is a massive hearth. It seems like a very comfortable first thing to see. There is seating of all sorts in that den. To your right, you see what looks like the kitchens, and to your left, you see what looks like the doorway that would lead likely to bedrooms. The next thing you see, well, roll me perception to see how much of it you see.
Okay.
With a 21, in the den, there is a stout table that looks as though it's likely to be used as a dining table, and there are 4 seats at it. One of the seats is on its back, and you see that there is blood all over it and the wood floorboard around it that is clearly stained and dry. The house looks as though it's in a bit of a mess. You notice there are tools and toys and tchotchkes and all sorts of things that are just a little bit strewn about, as if it's been gone through not by people who lived there.
Right. Rifled.
Yes, it's been sort of sifted through, basically. The way, if you're going to investigate this house, you have the den, which looks like is where the murder took place. You have the kitchen, and you have the bedrooms. Sorry. So, how are you doing?
Can I figure out which is the victim's bedroom?
Yeah, there's only 2 bedrooms. You see that one bedroom is clearly the parents' room. It has a large, comfortable-looking linen bed with all sorts of, looks like maybe a wardrobe, racks, and a mirror. It's not a huge room, but it's sizable.
I would like to search the room. I'm looking for books or arcane-looking things. I have no arcana, so I basically just looking for anything that looks like I don't know what it is.
Roll investigation for me. And as you're looking, Stoic will assist you, so you can have advantage.
Oh, good. That's a garbage roll.
That is a
Let's
7.
Try again. Okay, that's better.
21.
Back to 21 again.
Yeah. You begin to
Top
sift...
of the dice, bottom of the dice.
Yes, no kidding. You begin to sift through this room, and as you're looking around, you're looking specifically for books, as you've described. There are books in this room. There are quite a few. You notice with the 21, there is a shelf of various tomes. Most of them seem as though they have not been touched. At least not for a long time. They're dusty. They look mundane, even. One of them is clearly a spell book, but it looks like an old one that hasn't been touched in a long time. But with the 21, you notice that there is another book, a much narrower one, that would be easy to miss. One's eyes could slip right over it, but yours don't. And it looks as though it has been disturbed recently. It's not dusty.
Hey. I would like to pull this book out. Does it have a title and stuff?
This particular book does not. It is a leather-bound tome. It is pretty thin. It doesn't have a whole lot to it. When you look at it, it seems as though it's the sort of thing one would pick up in a trade from like a trader, or it's not an official book. It's not like a written novel or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. More like a journal.
Yes, more like a journal. And as you're looking at it, hold on a second. As you're looking at it, you see that the edges of it are pressed, and it has these fine silver fittings set into the edges of the journal.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Is there anything weird about the leather? It's not like made of people or anything.
No. It seems like half leather. It's just
okay.
It's fairly
I'd like
soft to the touch.
I'm gonna poke through the journal, open
Okay.
it up.
The journal does not seem to have someone's daily activities written in it, but it does seem to have notes of various things in there. The notes look like they're mostly about illusion magic, but you're not proficient in arcane, so it talks about magical components and things that you don't quite understand. You understand that you're reading stuff about magic.
But that's about all that I understand.
As you're skimming, yeah, basically. It seems to run on some form of electricity. As you're skimming through the journal, I'd like you to roll me an investigation check for something that maybe stands out, or anything that could glean information to one who does not understand arcana. You still have advantage. Stoic is still helping you.
Thank God for Stoic. Yay!
A 15.
Slightly less bad.
Toward the latter half of the journal, as you're skimming through it, you see there is a symbol. It stands out to you because it's the first drawing you found in the journal. There's not been any depictions or sketches of anything like that. You see, it looks like a symbol of... It's like a black inscribed symbol of a person whose head is down and they're sitting on their knees. The next page, when you look for maybe an explanation or description or something, a name stands out to you. I'm going to write the name down as you read it. Hold on. It's in my notes. Here it is. But not in caps lock, because that would be ridiculous.
Angir Boda.
Did you say that out loud?
Yes, I just read it out of the book.
Roll me perception. An 18. Your hair on the back of your neck stands on end. You suddenly get the feeling of someone watching you.
Milo slowly turns around.
Stoic looks at you. He's... What? What is it?
Do you sense anything?
I will roll perception for Stoic. He rolled a 19. He looks at you. No? Why?
Milos kind of crinkles his brow. Goes, I sensed something. Someone listened when I said that name.
When you
Do
said
you know
the
any-
what name?
Milos doubly says it again.
I have not heard it before. Angir Boda? And you see Stoic, suddenly he just... Oh. I see. I suddenly get the feeling we're not
Listening.
alone. Yes.
Yeah. Do I know anything about this name?
You're not proficient in Arcana. Are you proficient in
no.
history?
Yes.
Roll history. There is a chance. No.
Probably not.
You've
That's
never
a
heard this name
14.
before. It's a weird
Completely
name.
baffled.
From what you can tell, it seems the way that it's written and the way the word is structured, vaguely, maybe like in stories you might have read about devils before, but you don't know anything about it.
I don't know a damn thing. Okay. I'm going to turn. Is our guard friend still with us in this room? Or is he just hanging out outside?
He's in the door. He's in the door.
Oh.
He's not paying attention to you. He's basically like looking around.
Milos holds up the journal that he found, and he asks, "Can I bring this back to the Marigard to ask someone about it?"
The guard looks at you and at the journal, and he says, "Huh. Let me see it first before I say
you
yes or
open
no." He takes the book and he kind of opens it. Where did you find this?
Just on the shelf. Looks like magic stuff.
I don't know fuck all about it, but any.
Right, that was my thinking, but I know someone who does.
Oh, okay. I'd have to come with you, as it's, well, it looks like evidence to me.
I think so too.
I'll follow
But-
you.
You're welcome to come. I mean, I don't think
Well,
it's not like
it's either coming, either you're taking it to the Marigard with me in accompaniment, or it's going straight to the guards post. So.
Well, then, come with me, please. I would like to take this back to get eyes on from someone who knows Arcana.
Okay. And he follows you. Are you going to investigate any more of the house, or is this what you're taking?
I'm going to. I think this is my big thing, but I do want to investigate around the actual horrible crime scene a
Okay.
bit. Actually, you know what? Let me check around the kitchen too. I'm just gonna look around everywhere.
Sure.
Milos doesn't want to just like walk away from the murder house without having at least looked in the places.
Okay, so first,
because he was prepping the deer, the venison corpse, in the kitchen.
yes, there is a butcher's block in the kitchen that looks as though it's fairly recently made. It's a new-ish looking butcher's block. It's seen a lot of use. There's lots of stains on this butcher's block that it doesn't take an inventive mind to see is deer blood.
Yeah.
But there's no long-term stains that have deeply set into the butcher's block, so it has the finish on the butcher's block still exists.
Absolutely matches up with the story from Tom Wise, because he had said that he'd only recently started hunting for her.
Yeah.
To sort of check around. I assume that the guards took the axe to be the murder weapon in evidence.
It's not there. You don't see
Okay.
you don't see an axe. It doesn't, like, right outside the front door. You would have noticed a wood cutting block, with an axe missing. So
I'm gonna look around the kitchen. I'm gonna look around the region of the butcher's block, especially. But I'm gonna look around the kitchen and see if there are any signs of someone having done some kind of ritual in here, or if there's any symbols scratched on the walls, or just like anything weird.
roll
And again, I'm
investigation.
not proficient in Arcana, so I'm
You're looking
basically
for
just
weird
looking
stuff.
For anything that's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again,
am I
you
being
still have
helped?
advantage. Stoic is
Okay.
helping you in this investigation. That is his
Okay.
purpose. He is the
Yes,
help.
thank you, Stoic.
With a
13 is better than 6.
It is. With a 13, the home is filled with candles, but that doesn't strike you as odd because most homes are full of candles.
Yeah.
You see there is a unique contraption that you recognize as Ceresian make. It's kind of a higher end device. It is a form of lantern. It seems as though you've seen them before. You know it turns magic into light. But it's not the sort of thing you use all the time.
No, it's just something for lighting when it's dark.
Exactly. That is sitting on the counter near the butcher's block. You don't see any signs of ritual. There may be signs of ritual. You are not convinced that there is nothing, but you just have not
can't
found
find
it.
And I don't really know enough to know what I would be looking for. So he just he looks around to see if there's anything immediately obvious that would match that.
Okay.
And then when he doesn't, he goes, "All right." And then he's gonna check around the living room, and he's or the den, you know what I mean? And he's just extremely leery of all of this blood. Like, this is so gross. He's never investigated a crime scene. He doesn't know what he's doing, but he wants to look around anyway.
Sure. Go ahead
Still
and roll.
looking for weird stuff.
Yeah, roll another investigation for me. Still at advantage, yes. 15. Okay. With a 15, there is okay, so this room is kind of laid out in that there is like an eating area in the den, and then there is like a sitting area around the hearth, where you can see there is another shelf lined with books, but it doesn't take you. These are storybooks or novels or recreational things that have likely been picked up by traders or from the stores in the town. It's for fun. There, you notice that on the other side of the room there is a paint set with an assortment of paintings that look like they're half finished or in the process of being done. There is a narrow easel near the stool by that paint set. And when you're over there looking at it, you glance down, and beneath the stool there are scratchings in the wooden floor. There are all sorts of scratches all over the wooden floor elsewhere, but these have a pattern to them.
Milos said he was going to take notes. I'm assuming he has paper with him.
Sure.
Because
it would make sense for you to take notes with paper, yes?
Yeah, I'm just looking at I have nothing in my inventory that actually says I have paper, but I'm just going to... Can I just pretend that I have paper because I knew I was going on an investigation?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to take some paper, and I'm going to try to put the paper on the scratchings and then try to charcoal them up so I can get a rubbing.
Yeah, that's simple enough. You don't have to roll to do that. You just do that.
And then he stands up again and...
Remind me, what languages do you speak?
I speak... Where is it? I know the answer to this question. Fuck it. Hang on. I'm just going to look in D&D Beyond because I know where it is there. I speak Common, Giant, and Deep Speech. Deep
Speech. Okay. You do not recognize the language that these markings appear to be emulating. Mm-hmm. They kind of have almost a winding scroll work to parts of the letterings, and just that alone, noticing that, this is not accidental scratching. So as you charcoal
Stoik,
them...
do you know what language this looks like?
You see he kind of leans down and looks at it, and... well, it is not Dwarvish, it is not Giant. But you would not have asked me if that was the case. No, I have no idea, I'm afraid.
Right, okay.
Looks
what about you, Mail? Do you have any idea what this is? Holds up the scratchings that he just took.
Mail looks at it. Maybe. Let me roll an intelligence roll for the guard. He rolled a 3. Mail says, no. It seems very pretty.
Yeah, it's got a bit of that aesthetic look. Yeah.
Sorry?
No, it's all right. I'll just take it with me along with the other thing.
Aye, will likely go to the guard post as well.
Right. So shall we to the mirror guard next?
Mail has the keys to the house ready in his hand, and he just nods. And you head out, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The door is locked behind you, and you begin making your way back to the mirror guard. As you are leaving the building, I need you to make another perception check for me.
Okay. Now that we've both said this name out loud multiple times.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I need to make a charisma save.
Oh boy. die?
You're pretty good at those.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, it's pretty good.
24. Yeah. All right. As you are heading out of this structure, there's just a moment, the briefest of moments, where you glance over your shoulder, looking back into the room, and you swear the painted set was facing the stool. It's facing you, and you swear to God there are a pair of eyes on the easel looking at you. And you blink, and they're gone. But you'll remember they were yellow, and they looked like they were staring through you.
Milos kind of shivers, like, ugh, creeped out. But he doesn't say anything about this in front of Mail.
Okay.
And he just starts leading the way back towards the Marigard, which is quite a hike from here.
Yes, it is. It's a bit of a distance. Which means, of course...
An encounter check!
Yes, hold on. Let me roll to see if you have one.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Roll me a D100, please. It's a busy town. 49. Okay, hold on. Okay. Hold on. As you are walking, I need you to roll a perception check for me. 21. All right. As you guys are walking, you head up the main stretch in Ferrum. You're wandering through the market, making your way back toward the Marigard Academy. It is a pleasant walk as always. It's very much a flat town, so it doesn't make it difficult to make your way up and down the main stretch. As you're walking, you feel a sharp metallic ting off your boot. You look down. There is a single gold piece just laying on the ground.
Milos eyes it with extreme skepticism, checks his pockets.
They are intact.
Right. I'd like to turn in a slow circle to see if I can see anybody watching me.
With a 21 perception check, it's fairly busy on this street. There's lots of people milling about. You don't see anyone looking at you in particular.
All right, I guess I'll crouch down and pick up the coin.
Okay. You collect 1 gold coin.
How did you drop this?
Male, who is currently... It looks like he was skimming through the journal, looks up and says, "Huh? No." And Stoic next to you says, "Not me. Unless you're willing to part with it."
I mean, I just picked it up off the street. It's not mine,
Looks like it is now.
I guess. Milos kind of slowly puts it in his pocket.
Okay.
He still looks pretty skeptical. But
You're suspicious of this gold coin you find on the street.
I'm suspicious.
You find a gold coin. That was the random encounter.
Okay, I found a gold coin.
Mm-hmm. What you do with it is up to you.
He's gonna put it in a different pocket than the rest of his money in case it turns out to be some kind of
Nefarious
evil
coin. Yes. Nefarious.
I don't know why that he is this suspicious of this coin. I think it's just a pretty large denomination for him to just like think he found lying around, so he's like, this is a trap. So he puts it in his other pocket.
Okay, yeah. You collect a gold coin that you're suspicious of. You isolate it from the rest of your gold.
In case it eats it.
Okay.
He just keeps walking.
All right. You proceed onward to the Marigard. You arrive with no further incident. As you
Alright.
arrive here, Male is like looking up at the structure, and he says, "I've never actually been inside."
Right. How long have you worked here?
2 years?
Wow. You're
It's
having an
not-
adventure today.
I guess so.
If we
And-
go,
They follow you in. Where are you going?
I think we're going to go to Tabernac's library.
Okay.
Because I could just go back to the Warlock instructor, because I know her, but I am specifically looking for information about magic stuff, and I know that we have a wizard instructor.
It's true.
So I'm doing that. I'm a little shy about it, but that is what I'm doing.
Okay. You head in to... Well, first you head into the main hall. You are greeted by Persh, who just nods at you all as you enter. When he sees Male...
Briefly introduce Mail to Persh
Persh...
as our guard escort for my free agency.
Yeah. Persh looks up at Male as you introduce him, and Persh says, "Right, it's a pleasure." And Male says, "Hi, thank you." And Persh goes right back to paperwork. You head up the stairs, you head up the tower on the right-hand side on the eastern wing, and you head all the way up to Tabernac's classroom. I've described this room many times, but here we'll go once more. As you enter the door into Tabernac's classroom, you see there are shelves and shelves and shelves of books and scrolls and arcane components, magical artifacts, all sorts of scriptures and recordings and writings that are just lining the walls, and you are almost overwhelmingly blasted with the smell of parchment as you enter. You also see at one of the tables there is a stout, kind of short, dark-haired halfling who has many books open. And she looks up as you enter, and she says, "Hi, hello?"
Hello. My name's Milos. I'm here on free agency, and I found some stuff that's magic-y, and I don't know anything about it. And they said I could ask the faculty or whatnot, and so I thought,
"Oh, hey, Tabernac's down on his, he's on his stage? He's around the corner, down the steps. You'll find him."
thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
And she goes back to looking at her tomes.
Well, gentlemen, I guess this way to the stage, says Milos, and he heads down the stairs.
Okay.
Thump, thump, thump.
It's impossible to miss Tabernac.
Yes.
As you begin heading down the stairs, there is a massive brass dragon lounging on a raised platform above what looks like comfortable seating and conversation objects, all sorts of little pieces of artwork that are near those couches and chairs, and a massive hearth that is dim at the moment, just some embers burning for some ambience. And as you are climbing down the stairs, this brass dragon, his attention moves up from the scroll that he was currently... It looks like he was inscribing with Mage Hand. And he looks up as you're entering, and he says,
"Newcomers. Hello."
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. It's not morning anymore.
I
Good afternoon.
believe I recognize you.
Oh. You do? Oh, you do. Right. At least said that you kept an eye.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize for the interruption, but I'm on free agency doing an investigation for the constabulary, and
Well,
I
of
found
course you are.
some things that I don't understand. And I thought maybe I could ask you for help.
Here at the Merigard, we always believe the best course of action is to use the tools you have available to you. And I, for one, am perfectly willing to be a tool. Let me see what it is that you are confused by.
Milos sort of hesitates for a moment, and he says,
Sir, it's very gracious of you to consent to being used in this fashion. I did not mean to call you a tool in any way, but
That was
this
my
is
attempt at a joke. It likely would have sounded better in Draconic. Please approach.
Of course. And then Milos will collect both his scratchings of the language and the book. He's going to just carefully extract from mail and just bring these up to Tabernacle to look at.
He first looks at the scratchings, and you see the mage hand. Tabernacle doesn't use his hands unless he has to. The claws are nestled underneath him, but the mage hand collects the writing from you and holds itself up right in front of Tabernacle's face. And as he peruses it, he says,
You have here a request. What is the word? Message to go across the plains. Someone has been trying to reach the Nine Hells. Why would they do that, I wonder?
for power.
Well, that's the easy answer. Should all mortals be so boring?
Well, it was just a guess. This young woman, well, I don't know how young, but this woman, well, I believe that journal belongs to her. And
Tabernacle looks at it, and he says,
Allow me a lookie, if you don't mind.
Of course, of course.
Tabernacle takes the journal, begins to skim through it, and he says,
Tell me from what you've found. What do you think is happening here?
I think this woman became... I mean, it may be that because of the nature of what I've become, everything starts to look like a nail for my hammer, but I think that this woman has reached out to powers beyond her control and has been changed by them. But I don't her husband said that she recently stopped being able to stomach cooked food and has been living on raw meat. It set me to thinking that perhaps some change occurred in the last few weeks and that there was some magical influence on her.
Well, that is an interesting summary.
as he's like skimming the book, he looks at you over the edge of it, and he says,
I see mentions of ice magic. I see unsettling spells and magical effects one was seeking. The notes for an aura of starvation, which is unpleasant. Also,
Why would you want that?
I need to roll a history for Tabernacle, which is going to be pretty good. Yeah, he rolled a 29. Tabernacle closes the journal, and he says,
and how much of this book did you read?
Well, I tried to read it. I didn't understand that much. There was definitely a weird name in it that when we said it, there was definitely a reaction to the name that
Tabernacle.
we found.
You see Tabernacle closes his eyes for a moment, and
Like
you just
the deep
see
sigh of,
you
oh
see-
God,
you
students.
see smoke. You see gouts of smoke just out of his nostrils, and he says,
Right. Well, you are not my student.
I think the object lesson here is if we find a weird name written in a book we don't understand, don't say it out loud.
I am impressed you've gathered that lesson without my scorn. This entity, the one whose name you spoke out loud, I assume.
I'm afraid so, sir.
They are a devil. They are a devil of information. You are now an entity that devil is aware of. So be careful. If they should so choose to reveal themselves to you, they will likely make you a promise of power.
I saw creepy eyes. They were yellow.
Tabernacle's head dips, and another gout of smoke just.
I feel like I'm watching Tabernacle, seeing a poorly housebroken puppy,
Yes, very much.
standing there wagging its tail and staring up at him as he's like, no.
I did not expect this free agency to have devilish contracts in the making.
Well, I think the person who... I mean, her head was cut off.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose there are some creatures where that wouldn't necessarily mean the end.
So this murder... What do you think happened, knowing there was a devil involved?
You see Mail, the guard, you could glance over your shoulder, and he's like... eyes wide, mouth agape, like, a devil? What? What the...
Well, I guess, I think what happened is that there was a summoning that went wrong, or...
No, I suspect it went just right.
Oh. Well, I think it might have gone wrong from the perspective of the person doing the summoning, or didn't do what they expected. But maybe I'm wrong. I think, the accused talked about feeling a reactive sort of fear from it, and I thought it was just lashing out. Took him over to lash out.
Could
and
be.
Destroyed the summoner?
That may be the case.
But whatever it is, I think it's loose now.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. Whatever the case may be, whether it was a successful summoning, a call for aid, a contract being signed, there is now a devil loose. And so the fate of, what was his name again?
Tom Wise. Tom Wise Garay?
I suspect the fate of Tom Wise Garay should be looked at as a possession and not a murder. However, the guards do not have this testimony. They only have what their children said and what they could find at the house. And since you are showing me two key pieces of evidence, it's likely they don't know this.
Well, not yet.
Right.
But we'll be bringing it to them. That was part of the deal for that we were coming here and then we were going to take it back to the guardhouse. I just wanted to make sure I knew what I was handing them.
You did well in bringing this to me. We are going to need to relocate that family, for if there is a devil attracted to it, we need to make them harder to find. And we need to ensure they do not say his name.
And he's looking at you as he says that.
We also need to... I think that Stoic and I are both going to need the same protection since we've both
said the name.
You certainly will. Once you are done here, the two of you are to head to the cleric's room.
Yes, sir.
You are to tell Mr. Treat that you have unintentionally attracted the ire of a devil, and you need cleansing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm. And Tabernacle is finished. He like closes the journal with a, and he hands it to Mail, and he says,
Please warn everyone who reads that journal not to say that particular name out loud.
and Mail just, no problem, Mr. Dragon.
Tabernacle.
Tabernacle, of course. They'll have no problem. And Mail looks at the two of you and he says, "So, was that what? Can we go?"
Yes. I do need to go to Mr. Treat before we go back to the guardhouse. But yes.
I think that is in our best interest. Yes, as Stoic is looking nervously around the room.
Stoic and Milos just exchanging like big-eyed, like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
What did we do? Oh no.
Okay, so
Okay.
you head out of Tabernacle's room with his
Yes.
consternation. You head down the stairs. You don't know where the cleric's room is.
Nope. That is not a place that Maxwell told me where it was.
Stoic also does not know where that is.
I guess we could go find Persh and ask him, and he'll side us for not knowing what we're doing. All right, let's go.
It's better than wandering around lost.
Yep, definitely better than that. Just head back to the front.
Okay, Persh is at his desk doing paperwork, as always.
Mr. Purse, I'm really sorry to interrupt. Can you tell us where to go to find Mr. Treat?
Persh, sets the quill down and looks up at you, and he says, The cleric classroom is, 30 doors down on the right.
Thanks. We got kind of devil-ridden. You know what? You don't need to care. Let's just go.
I don't. And he goes back to looking at his parchments. Day in the life working with adventurers. You follow his directions. You head down the hallway. You find the door to the cleric's room. And as it opens, you see that there is a wizened human with very gray, just hints of black hair. He's wearing full plate armor. Very well-made full plate armor. And you see there is a massive symbol plastered right in the middle. It doesn't require a religion check to see this is near the god of storms. And you see that there are a number of clerics seated that are taking notes, and he turns and looks at you, and he says, Yeah? What do you want?
Tabernacle said to tell you that we have accidentally gained the ire of a devil.
You see his face just kind of darkens, and he says,
Okay, all right. Come in.
See, we were on free agency, and we found this book, and I didn't know what it meant.
I didn't ask for the lecture. Just sit down.
and Treat, begins...
But Milos kind of wilts into the seat, very hangdog, oh no, what have I done?
Treat pulls out a small pouch, and he begins to drop a perfect circle around you and Stoic, who's looking down at you, and he says, I hope this doesn't hurt.
Me too.
Treat, it takes a good 10 minutes to perform this ritual.
We're just both sitting here,
And all of the cleric students are, watching as all this is happening.
staring at us.
Just, they get to see
at
the
these-
hands-on. Yeah.
Look at these fucking nidnicks.
Finally, Treat finishes the circle. He's holding his symbol. You see his eyes are closed. And he only says,
Near, hear me.
and as soon as he says those words, it's as though the ring, this magic circle, gleams with electrical energy, and you are surrounded by rolling storm clouds that just occupy this magic circle. And in those storm clouds, you see a form. A enormous, winged, black, devilish form with bright yellow eyes. Excuse me.
Been tight.
Thank you. This devilish form makes itself visible to you, but only for a moment as you're in this ring. And it is terrifying. Just for the moment, as it's locking eyes with you, and as it appears, you just hear its voice say, in almost too smooth, too confident,
What a shame. We could have had such fun. Maybe I'll find you again. Until then.
and the storm washes away. It's gone. And you're back to seeing the rest of the room around you. You feel as though this pressure that was locked up in your chest is suddenly gone. It's as if you could finally take a deep breath after holding it for so long. And Treat is standing there, the holy symbol he's tucking back into his plate armor, and he says, "All better."
Thank you. Thank thank gods. That was unsettling.
What did we learn?
Don't say words if you don't know what they are.
Especially not ones you find in peculiar places.
Right. Don't say words in weird books that I don't know what they mean.
Let that be a lesson to all of you. He turns to, like, the clerics, and he says, "Magic
Awesome,
words
keep
have
the moment.
quite a meaning. See, these two imbeciles have stumbled across a powerful arcane word that tied them to that devilish entity you all saw." And you just see all the clerics are like, like they're watching.
Like, yes, that
heads
was in
nodding.
fact terrifying. Oh god.
And as you are cleansed, you have all this evidence, you have a good idea of what you think happened. That's where we're going to stop.
Okay.
Before you head to, what's the constabulary?
Back to this constabulary with all this information to
Yes. So,
save the day and talk to the kids, and who knows?
who knows?
Don't say the demon's or the devil's name.
Don't say that particular devil's name, yeah. So, well done. I hope you had fun.
I did. It was a lot of fun.
Okay. All right. And that is where the recording shall stop. Thank you for playing.
Thank you for running. Now